Good morning. Hello. Welcome. Thank you for downloading this episode of Parks and Conversation. And this is a rewatch and talk about podcast where we rewatch Parks and Recreation. And then I, Jason, and my friend Jeremy, we talk about it. Say hello, Jeremy.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, man, it is definitely a day.
Yep.
That's all I can say about it. So as we are recording this, the world is crazy. And so it's nice to escape to a crazy world with no consequence and to watch this classic show with our friends in Pawnee, Indiana. And I do want to thank the person on iTunes who gave us 5 stars in our rating. So currently we have a perfectly rated podcast.
Oh,
so
sweet.
Thank you.
Oh, awesome.
I don't know if anybody else can say that, but at this time, we just have the one rating, and so we're doing great.
Maybe we should just quit now and go out on top.
Well,
Just retire.
we should totally just say, hey, we reached all the goals we wanted to reach, and now we're going to spend more time with our podcast families.
Our podcast families?
Yeah, I don't know what that means, but why not? Why the heck not, But today let's not get too far down the road of early retirement. I mean, we're not Michael Jordan. And so let's talk about season 2, episode 5, Sister City.
I'm in.
All right. I feel like every week I come on this podcast and I say something like, this may be my favorite episode. But legitimately, I do think this may be my favorite episode of all of Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, it's definitely up there.
I mean, top 5, this is definitely in top 5 contention. The real struggle will be when we get to Lil Sebastian's story arc. There are several episodes that really just spark joy in my heart. And so, because I have always preferred, never mind, I'm not going to say the line right now.
One thing I thought was interesting is that it's a standalone. It's kind of a standalone episode. Like this, I don't think there's anything in this entire episode that moved any of the last season and a half's plot forward. Like the main plots, other than they are talking about the park, which is good. But as far as the characters go, it was just you could just kind of pick this up and watch it. Like you could introduce somebody to Parks and Rec if you wanted to. I feel.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
That is an accurate assessment, I think. This would be a good jumping on point. If you're like, I don't know if my friends are going to like the first season of Parks and Rec.
Yeah, watch this one first.
Yeah.
Then go back.
Start here.
Maybe. I don't know. It's darker. It's the darker timeline.
Yeah. So, So in this episode, Pawnee is welcoming the Parks delegation from Venezuela. What's the city name? I didn't write down the city name. Baragua, Venezuela. And this delegation is led by comedy genius Fred Armisen, who plays Raul. And they have come as a way of building solidarity between the two cities, the two countries. Did you ever have this experience in the town you grew up in? Did you guys have a sister city in another country?
No.
Okay. We did.
Okay. Tell me about
Kirtland. Let me tell you about it.
Yeah.
My brother played football for Lake Washington High School in Kirkland, Washington, and we have a sister city in Japan. And my brother had the opportunity to go to Japan and play football against the Japanese football team.
Please tell me more about the story. Can we just stop our podcast now and just talk about this?
Well, they did not do well, the other team.
Uh-huh.
I don't know about if you know this about Americans, but one of the things that's revealed in this episode is, America is very good at making fat babies. And our American football team was very much larger in many ways than
like basketballs.
Yes. And so, yeah, they crushed them. But then my brother told me later that they had the opportunity to practice sumo with some, high school sumo team, and they got stumped. So, different countries good at different things, different expertises. Expertise? I don't know.
Yeah.
So, so every time I think about sister city stuff, I always think about that. Like, it's a real thing. And you send people back and forth between countries and you say, this is going to build solidarity, but really it doesn't.
If you go down to the waterfront in Edmonds, there is a kind of a totem pole carving. And when I first started doing video work, I was sent down there to record the unveiling of that totem pole because it was part of a gift from Edmonds' sister city, which is also in Japan. I'm going to butcher the name, Hekinan, Japan. And
sounds good.
Yeah, and I always wondered why the totem pole. I think there was an explanation, but I don't remember it, and that's the end of the story.
Well, there is a gift giving that happens between sister cities and different countries and stuff like that, and so maybe they just were like, "Hey, this is something that we know happens in America. Do you want another one? Do you want another totem pole? I don't know."
Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't have enough. We could use more,
especially downtown Edmonds. Yeah.
When I went to Alaska last year, this is totally different. I went up to Alaska, and they have the First Nations people that they make totem poles, and they're awesome. And they made a totem pole during the 1860s that was because they were mad at Abraham Lincoln for emancipating the slaves, but not like undoing systemic racism for First Nations peoples.
Okay.
And so they made a totem pole that was making fun of Abraham Lincoln, and it's still there today. It's pretty awesome. That's great.
That's the best kind of protest. That's great. Like, this is what we do, and also this is our cartoon version of you in our art. It's
really high up, so people can't just get up to it and deface it. So
that's really smart.
Yeah, there, a lot of good ideas. If you really want to burn somebody, cut down like a 30-foot cedar tree and spend 5 years carving something, and then put it somewhere, and they can't do anything to you because they probably already forgot why you're mad at them. So I don't know. Anyway, so this episode starts with Leslie asking the team, to help her with the outfit, trying to figure out like, what do we do? We're welcoming foreign dignitaries, and she wants to get everything right. And in the cold open, she says Pawnee doesn't do well with foreign visitors, and it cuts to a mural of the Pawnee Zoo, and it has a what looks like a stereotypical European Jewish person, and they are in a cage, and underneath the caption for what's in this cage, it just says unknown, because Pawnee is like, it's a joke on the ignorance of Pawnee, and her reply to that is, this time our guests are going to stay in a hotel for sure. So
I love that the guy in the cage is just placidly reading a book.
Yeah. He's like, this is what happens.
Yeah. Well, this is where I live now.
This is the world
with the bison.
Yeah. So, so that's the cold open. And then it cuts to the team out after credits. They're out on the steps, ready to welcome the delegation. And this is arguably the most depressing, like, public reception I have ever seen. It's 5 people on some stairs in a way too shiny day. It's too bright. It's too sunny. Everything about it is just like, no one's comfortable right now.
Jerry's in charge of the music.
Right. Which is just a CD player. And then they're like, well, at this moment, this is when Leslie's like, what if they don't speak English? These are people from a different country. What if they don't speak English? And they go and ask April, do you speak Spanish? And she does. And she says, essentially, Leslie, you have no life because you put all of your energy into work. and Leslie doesn't know what she's saying, but she's like, that sounds great. And April actually, in looking up trivia for this episode, she tells us in the show that her mom is Puerto Rican, and she is her father is originally from Puerto Rico in real life, Aubrey Plaza's father. So, but then also Fred Armisen is playing a Venezuelan, and I was nervous about this because I was like, is he really? I don't know. What kind of last name is Armisen? And so looking it up, I found out that his mother is from Venezuela. And so I was like, all right, he is Venezuelan. So he can tell these jokes and have fun and be Venezuelan because he is Venezuelan. And that was a relief to me personally. So
Whew.
yeah. Ooh, man. I had no idea.
Glad you're okay.
I am okay. So at the introductions, Raul, Elvis, Antonio introducing people, and then there's one more person on their group, and I love that. It's just like Fred Armisen. Raul says, "He is our intern. Pay no attention to him. He's worthless." They brought in a worthless intern on an international trip, and but April is also an intern at the Parks Department, and so this creates a bit of a connection between the two, which is an ongoing thread throughout this episode.
Yeah, well, and they also brought their administrator of hedges.
Right. Yeah. Did you catch all the titles?
No, I missed the first one. Then it was just the Elvis was the hedges minister of hedges.
Yeah, so great. I loved it right away. As soon as Fred Armisen came out, I was like, this is going to be, I remember the first, as I was watching this is going to be fantastic. The first time I watched it, and I was not disappointed at all. So the Venezuelan committee, they are being greeted. They are like really bummed out. Like everything about this is not good. And then they point to Tom and they say, "Can you get your servant to get our bags?" And Leslie's like, "Chill. They're a different culture. Don't be offended." But Tom is upset, and then but he gives him money. Raul gives him money for his troubles, and Tom's immediately like, "I'm on board."
Yeah.
And so throughout this episode, then Tom will continually be doing menial tasks for these guys because they keep giving him $100 bills as a tip for his services. Yeah, so that's really great. And then also they are expecting a party, and they think that means that they will be able to select any women from town to be with that evening, which they are. The Pawneans are shocked by this. Donna, Raul, and is it Elvis? I can't remember who's who. But Raul and Elvis, they both choose Donna to be their woman. And Donna was like, "I've been to South America. I did very well there." So that was also a funny line. So, what else? I feel like I'm flying through, and we're only like 2 minutes into this episode. So,
oh yeah, 2 minutes, and not of the show, not the podcast.
No, like there's so much happening really quickly in this episode of Parks and Rec. There's just so many jokes per minute. So then they go into the alleyway in between the buildings, the plaza in between the buildings in the city hall. The intern is flirting with April, and he's talking about how prominent their roles are in the government in Venezuela, that it's a sought after position. And April's like, "Yes, I too am very powerful." And Jerry comes asking for help, and she's like, "No, Jerry, leave me alone." And he goes away. And so the intern, Johnny, is impressed by April's power over this man. And then this is where the gift giving happens, where Raul gives a gold-plated replica of the gun that Chavez used to drive out the oppressors. And then that's when Leslie gives her theory of gifts, which is like, you don't want to do anything too fancy to embarrass somebody. So they give corn syrup from Sweetums Candy Factory and Kernsten's rubber nipples. Tastes just like the real thing. So I love it. Yeah. and Raul's response is, thank you for this jug of sap and this bag of garbage. Because he is not impressed by this gift at all. And then he completely roasts Pawnee in their welcome speech, talking about how the plaza is a deserted alleyway, and then also how their other sister city in North Korea is way nicer. And so everything about what's going on is terrible in their assessment of the city of Pawnee so far.
I love that Ron is like nowhere to be found this entire time. He's like, in one shot, he's kind of looking through the window in the background. Right. He's just not, he's not there.
Right. And he tells us why. Like, he doesn't want to be associated at all with Chavez and Venezuela, but he is impressed with that gun. So, which for years is him playing with that gun in the show is going to be his clip in the credits. Mm-hmm. Is him like shooting, like what is the unholstering the gun? Is that the word? Drawing the gun. Yes. So, which is pretty great. It is a pretty sweet gun. In the courtyard conversation as well, we meet Mark and they're there for some reason. And one of the guys says, "And what do you do?" And he says, "I'm a city planner." Again, another great joke. The city was planned. When I came in from the airport, I saw a school next to a Taco Bell. Like, everything is just like randomly put together.
It's a tattoo parlor.
Yes. So, it was so good. So great. These guys are doing a really good job of showing how terrible Pawnee is. And, when you think about it, like, if you grow up in a town, like, it's just the way it is. And it's not until you somebody comes from out of town and it's like, wow, that's kind of different and weird, that you see the strangeness of your town.
Right.
And so having this Venezuelan delegation come, they're like us in that, like, they're also foreigners to Pawnee. And so we see the strangeness of Pawnee and they're seeing it as well. They're just pointing it all out in a way that is rude and offensive.
Well, and it's your town, and no one is allowed. Like, you can make fun of your town. You can make fun of, the terrible buildings or the weird things that happen in your town. But if anybody else does, you get very defensive. It's like your family, like other people can't pick on your family. I mean, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I felt about this whole episode. It's like, yeah, this is all true, but Leslie gets very defensive. Well, she's defensive anyway, but yeah. Don't mess with Pawnee.
Right. No, Pawnee's the best. And so over and over again, they keep saying things about Pawnee that makes her more and more upset. So then Leslie gives them a little tour of the parks department. And they're sitting at the table. Tom comes in with a banana, and Raul's like, "Peel it," and he gives him money. And again, more demeaning activity for Tom. And Leslie brings them over to the thermometer, showing them their progress in raising funds for the park that she's trying to build. Fill in the pit, build a park. That's her goal. And the Venezuelans laugh at the concept of the budget shortage. And Leslie's like, "I guess I don't understand." He's like, "Really? My English was quite clear." Because they have tons of money, and the money comes from oil, and which was true for Venezuela. They have great oil reserves, and the government had a lot of money. And as you can see in the news, Venezuela is falling apart because they were terrible. The government. But this is one of my favorite lines in the whole episode. as he's trying to explain to Leslie, when he says, talking about Venezuela, he's like, Venezuela, my country. And he points to the flag on his uniform, Venezuela, my country. They are rich with oil, and oil is food for cars. So great. So she's like, well, all right, we're going to blow him away. We're going to take him to our best park, Ramsett Park, which comes up again and again as like the best park in all of Pawnee. And I love their response to when they get to the park. They say, this is the pit that you're trying to fill in.
You're wise to want to fill this in.
Yeah. Why are the trees so small? Our trees are huge. We build tunnels through them. So good. So good. They're just so mean. But on the way to the park, I think it's important to point out that even in these little interactions, they have this opportunity to highlight how much better their life is in Venezuela compared to Pawnee. And they're talking about TV, and he says, Raul says, I have everything in Venezuela. I have 3 satellite dishes. I have 14,000 channels. I know who wins Project Runway. And Leslie's like, well, I'm going to come over and watch it then. He's like, no, I'm still very much interested in the large black woman.
Yeah.
It's so, they're just so awfully mean. So, so Park doesn't work out. So instead they go to a town forum, which is where the ideas shine brightly through yelling. And Fred Armisen and his old gang, they are blown away by how rude the people of Pawnee are. Like, this is where you're having a meeting in a school, like, gym cafeteria thing. And they're like, we need to do all our meetings in citadels and palaces and fortresses. But then he also talks about how, like, all the yelling, like, this would never happen in Venezuela. And he lists why, because they go to jail. And all of the different reasons. He then cuts away to a talking head where he gives all the different reasons that people go to jail. I had a quote here. Oh, no, it's gone. Anyway, which is your favorite reason for going to jail?
Oh, yeah.
In this episode.
Well, let's list them. If you shout, you go to jail. There's a special place for journalists in jail. If you steal, straight to jail. If your music is too loud, jail. If you drive too fast, jail. Slow, jail. If your prices are too high for sweaters or glasses, jail. If you undercook fish, surprisingly, jail. If you overcook chicken, jail. Undercook, overcook. If you make an appointment with a dentist and you don't show, jail. They have the best patients in the world because of jail.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Overcook, undercook. It's different.
Yeah, I like if your prices are too high for, sweaters or glasses. Just, like, why those things? So yeah, I think that was my favorite reason. Like, some of the other ones make sense. I know the journalist thing is kind of a dig on the whole communist thing, but, like, shouting and stealing and too loud of music but then it just gets ridiculous, and that's great. Fred Armisen is a pro.
He's so funny. Yeah.
Yeah. Which one was yours?
My favorite is the overcook, undercook.
Yeah. That's
so so good. So they are. So after that talking head, they talk more about how they just are disgusted with Pawnee. It's not personal. We think that you are weak and your city is disgusting.
And that's the whole thing of, like, no offense. Yeah. I mean, you're a moron. No offense. Like, well, okay. When you put it like that, that's fine.
And one of the things is, when you are interacting with, like, people from another country, like, there are some times where it's like, you really don't know how offensive what you're saying is in our culture. That happens. And so part of it is, like, Leslie keeps, like, playing it off. Like, they don't know. They're not from here. They don't know how offensive what they're saying is. But as we come to find out, they do know exactly what they're doing. And so Leslie disrespects Chavez, and they are like, "We're out of here. We're leaving. Fine, we're gonna go." And they start to take the pens off the table, which I think is so funny. Like they just take. Fred Armisen just picks up pens and gives one to each of his guys, and they're like, "Those are our pens." Like, fine, we don't need them. And they leave. And so it cuts to the next day, and we see Ron in a suit because he's getting ready for a photo op, talking about like how frustrating this is and like how mean they were to Leslie's like, "I don't want to do this." He's like, "All right, I'll call the mayor and cancel the photo op." It's like, "No, we need to do this." "Okay, then you need to apologize to the Venezuelans." "No, I don't want to do that." And it's like, "Do you see the problem here?" Like Ron is so chill about everything. He's like, "I can't fix you, Leslie. I can't fix you." So they go ahead, and Leslie apologizes to the delegation, and they surprise her that the government of Venezuela has authorized them to give them a check for $35,000. And so this is a generous gift, but this comes after they talk about their own problem. Like they're saying, we were very jealous of our colleagues who went to Miami. And so they're apologizing for their attitude, but then they also are saying Miami is also better than Pawnee. Everything about Miami is great. They're partying with Dwayne Wade. They are, the cars are really nice. Everything about Miami is great. We're jealous, but here's $35,000.
And Pawnee is good too. I mean, it's it's good.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's fine. And so Leslie takes the check, and they again start taking pens. And like, all right,
it's like, are we good here? Yeah, we're good. Okay, we're just gonna take these pens now. It's like a symbol of ownership. Like if we have your pens, we win.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what I do. Any meeting I go into, any bank, I always ask, banks, can I have this? Can I take this? And
I own a lot of hotels now.
Yeah, me too. We had this is not in any way connected to Parks and Recreation. So
perfect.
Would you allow a brief divergence?
I'll allow it.
Thank you. I used to work for Long's Drugs, and in our customer service training, we watched a video called "Give Them the Pickle." Now,
I think there should be a second training video right after that, but go on.
And I had this job when I was a junior in high school, and I knew as I was watching this is not a good title. Like, this is not going to go well. And the basic premise is like so many different companies, like, restaurants, banks, they try to give the customer as little as possible, right? So if you want pickles, it's going to cost you extra. If you want the pen from the bank, no, it's on that chain at the desk. You can't even take the pen. And this guy was like, when I go see one of those, I just rip the chain right off the thing. He's like, you should always give the pen. And then also the restaurants, he wanted to order pickles, and he would have to pay extra. And that's when he coined his phrase, always give them the pickle. And I about lost it in that warehouse watching that video with my friend Joey. This is not okay.
Was the old guy Mr. Long?
No, it was not the founder of Long's Drugs. It was Captain Forgettable, and just generic white business, like inspirational speaker. So
did they do a reenactment of him like going into banks and ripping pens off the chain?
That would have at least made it good to watch. No, it was him. It was literally an hour-long speech of him just in front of, people who are hungry for inspiration for their jobs.
So that's where that phrase comes from, off the chain. Like when somebody rips a pen from a bank off the chain. And that's
exactly.
why you don't see them anymore, because everyone is just off the chain.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you can't go in banks anymore.
Right. Well,
there's a lot of things going on.
That's why they keep sending me pens on chains in envelopes. Now I understand why.
So,
I have all the pen chains in the world.
Anyway, thank you for allowing that divergence. So and now we're back to talking about this. So Leslie has this check, and she's wrestling with whether or not they should take it because it's from a foreign government, and like, what does this say? And Ron is like, listen, take the money. These guys are going to leave, and then we're going to build the park. It's all wins. This is easy.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the photo op, Raul is asking Leslie if they would do a brief video saying thank you for this money. And the key thing is, he's like, viva Venezuela. And he wants Leslie to say viva Chavez. And she is not willing to viva that guy, is what she says.
Just one little viva.
Yeah, one little viva. We gave you $35,000. That's worth one little viva. And so she mumbles viva Chavez. And then she just like feels dirty as soon as she says it. You could see it in her whole body language. Like,
that was good.
Ugh. And so she goes over, and the delegation is speaking in Spanish into the video. So she's like, April, what are they saying? And that's when she finds out that this whole thing has been an elaborate prank from Venezuela. It is. These guys are a part of the committee to humiliate and embarrass America. And they have come to Pawnee with the sole goal of embarrassing American government officials and making America look weak. And so Leslie hears them and like confronts them. She rips up the check and, kicks them out, ends the photo op. It's all good. But now they do not have that $35,000 that they need to build the park. And so we're left at a bit of a quandary. What will happen? And as Leslie is talking about her experience, it cuts to Tom, who has been getting money from the Venezuelans for all kinds of the menial tasks that they were telling him to do. And Tom takes that money and he donates it to the park.
Oh,
like, Tom, you're a good dude. Way to see the right thing to do in this situation and do it. And so, I was like, Tom Haverford, you're a total sleazeball, but at least you're a good total sleazeball.
Yeah, you're the best kind of sleazeball.
The best. Simply the best. So that's kind of where the show ends. They still don't have the $35,000. The Venezuelans are going back to Venezuela. And Tom has given his money to donate to the park. And this is where we're at. Credit scene. April went to Johnny's place in Venezuela, and it is a palace. He's an intern. He's got guards. He's got people. And she's like, it's all right. I guess it's better than my mom's place. Oh, yeah. And Donna's here.
Yeah.
Hola. All Donna says, hola. So, yeah. So April does end up going to Venezuela, spend time with Johnny. And that's Sister City, season 2, episode 5. There are so many reasons that I love this episode. And I hope we covered them well. I don't know. Is there anything else we need to cover on this there, Mr. Jeremy?
No, not really. I mean, the one joke that I kind of like that they set up was when they were explaining about the committee to humiliate and shame America. And Leslie confronts him and he says, well, yeah, this is Hugo Chavez's passion project. You guys could, use some of the money, put a fountain in your park of Chavez's head where the water's coming out of his mouth. So he's like spitting at you. And then that's all of the other stuff happens. And it's towards the end where when Leslie's talking and Tom puts the money in and she's talking about how, we don't have to do that. And we're never going to put a head of Hugo Chavez in our park spitting at our people unless they want it. And I thought that was so funny because that is Leslie. It's like it wasn't the Hugo Chavez head. It wasn't the fact that that wasn't the thing that made her mad. It was that it wasn't like the people didn't want it. Like she is very much about democracy. And hey, if they want that, that's on them. So I like that joke. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, no, I covered it great. So what would you say your favorite joke was? Food for cars?
Well, when he says to her, Venezuela, my country.
Oh yeah.
and points to the flag on his uniform. I love that. Just makes me laugh.
Just talking down to her so much.
Right. Like, we know you're from Venezuela. But he is so like demeaning. And like that is like, I think the perfect epitome of his demeaning attitude. My wife, like they grew up, they had exchange students from time to time. And, different cultures don't sometimes realize how demeaning they sound. And they had this exchange student from Germany who like talked down to the whole family all the time. And they were like, does he know how awful he is? And so like seeing this, like, it was just like, yeah, there's a definite cultural gap that happens where people just like, I don't know how to respond to what's happening right now.
Man, I don't know. I mean, you keep saying like people aren't always aware of how they come across, from different cultures. And there are people in my culture who I don't think are aware of how they come across.
Well, that is accurate. I'm just trying to be nice, I guess.
Fine. Okay.
I guess. I mean, if it is someone in your own culture, like, like that person knows they're being a jerk, or they are a jerk, and I know they're being a jerk. That's different than saying, and when you're working with somebody from like cross culturally, where it's like, I don't know if they know.
Are you being a jerk right now? Like
me?
No. Like that's I guess that's what you're saying. It's like you can't just ask someone from another culture. It's like, wait, are you being mean?
Right. Yeah. Whereas like if you're like I am I have people who work for me. I'm an overseer of people, and so there are times in meetings where I can just say like, what you're saying is inappropriate, and I have a position of authority where I can like call it out, and so maybe I'm coming from that place of privilege where I can like actually say like, no, that's not cool. But a lot of times we don't know if we can say that to anybody, where we can say like, that's not an appropriate response to what just happened. So I think Leslie is in this in between where it's like, she's not really an authority figure. She's a sub leader, and her boss doesn't want to be involved at all.
Well, and it's her character too, where she just tries to see the good in everybody, no matter what.
Right. Yeah. So she's constantly trying to give people the benefit of the doubt, even if they don't deserve it.
Right.
And she's trying to be a political force in her town, but she doesn't know what she's doing. And she has no real oversight because Ron just lets her do whatever she wants because he doesn't want to do anything. And so she's in an interesting place. But I do like that she stands up for herself.
Right.
Eventually, she gets to the point where it's like, no, the $35,000, like my dignity is not worth $35,000.
And that's the thing about Leslie throughout this entire series that we find out is like she eventually does do the right thing. Like that's, there's some people who won't do the right thing even when they know. And even if she's wrong, she'll come around, she'll apologize, do the right thing. And, she gives grace, and then by the end, it's like this, you can only go so far, So that's I like her character for that reason. So she gives as much hope as we can, have. You can have for somebody, and then that's it. They've used it up.
Yeah.
Even Leslie Knope has a limit, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And when she gets there, she is a strong person, but I don't think she knows how strong she is.
Not yet,
but she will. Missing from this episode, Andy Dwyer.
Again.
But we did have Lawrence, who told her that the pretzels suck.
And through many Frisbees.
Right. Yeah. So, trades.
Now imagine that with hot coffee in your hand.
Yeah. Oh, man. I love every time they do a town forum. So that lady who, like, my dog ate the feces of another dog at one of your parks, and I'm suing you for it.
Yep.
I think that's a real Karen move right there.
Yeah.
So
I'd like to speak to your park manager, please.
Karens.
All right. So what's next week?
Next week is a good episode. Let me pull up the list here because it is fantastic. My internet is slow. I think it is another good one.
Kaboom it!
Kaboom! Oh man, yes. Speaking of pranks, wow, this is gonna be great.
Boom!
You know what?
Is
Andy
that your
will be
favorite
back.
episode?
Is Kaboom my favorite episode?
No, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to say, now that you mention it, that's my favorite episode.
No, but so Kaboom is fine. Okay, it's not the best. I'm just gonna. I mean, I don't want people to not listen next week. But it's not my favorite. But let me forward promote beyond Kaboom. Greg Pakaitis.
Yes,
the Pakaitis episode is so good. Oh my gosh! And then we got Ron and Tammy. We've got the camel. Oh yes!
It really starts
the hunting trip.
It starts picking up, man. It gets. Yeah, I hope we do it justice.
Oh man, you know what is surprising to me? Looking at IMDb. All right, they rate episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Pawnee Zoo 8.0, The Stakeout 8.2, Beauty Pageant 7.8, Practice Date 8.4.
Wow.
8.4. Sister City 7.7.
Wow.
I don't know why this isn't a 20. This and Pakaitis. Pakaitis is 8.4, which seems okay. But yeah, some of the I don't know who's doing these ratings because some of these are way off. Like Tom's Divorce is 7.9 and Sister City is 7.7. I just can't. Sister City and Kaboom are same rating. I can't. Who do I talk to? Is there a family database that I write to?
I think it's Mr. DB. Owners? Yeah. The DB family. Yeah. I don't know
what IMDb stands for. Like,
I am DB.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anyway, so there's just so many good things coming up. I just have to not look at the ratings and go with the ratings of my heart.
There you go.
So, John Ralphio is coming back.
Yeah.
Park safety.
We haven't seen him yet, have we?
Have we not met John Ralphio?
No.
Oh, that's right.
Oh.
When does this show up?
Oh man.
Sorry.
Sure. Wow.
Because I'm totally distracted here, but it's worth it. Yeah.
Save that energy for the episodes. It's good.
The other day, this is another diversion. The other day, we were out somewhere with our family doing something.
I've been there,
and I think it was on Saturday. We went on a road trip with, like a day trip with Kathy's family, like to different spots where they grew up.
Mm-hmm.
We were in a park. Yes, it was Saturday. We were in a park and we were walking, and Kathy kept saying, like, I want you to see this. I want you to see this. And then I just yelled out, I want to show you this cool log I found. And my father-in-law looked at me like I was stupid. And I was like, you don't even know.
You don't know how stupid I can be.
Yeah. Have you guys seen Avatar? Oh, so good. All right. We should stop because we were just talking about this episode and not wanting to get into all the other episodes. So
at least we're staying on topic-ish.
We're talking about Parks and Recreation, which is what this whole thing's all about. So,
and that story was in a park. So that's good.
Yes. And I was recreating. So, all right. Well, then I will, let's stop here and let's be done. So, it was great chatting with you.
Yeah, you too.
And have a great one, man.
You too. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.